Welcome to What the Biz, where we talk about building successful businesses, balancing life, and all the WTB in between. With your hosts, me, Richard Pyatt.
I'm Bridget Vector.
And I'm Dan Prochko.
Well, folks, how's everybody today?
Dude, busy week. If you're not used to our voices yet, it's Dan. I have not gotten as much done as I wanted to. I think that always happens. Projects we work on are pretty long, but the biggest thing I've been working on this last week is SEO. So we've got one of our clients, e-commerce, food, online food. So it's fresh food delivery. And we think they should be ranking for a lot more than they are. And they're just not showing up in the search. So we're going through and doing all that technical stuff. And it's really tedious. So I'm not going to get into it, but it's really tedious and it just takes a while. And there's like keyword research and all that. So that's been taking up a lot of time. But Jenny and I were able to get out to the beach yesterday night. Nice. And we caught the sunset actually out in South Haven, Michigan. So we're out there on the third coast. Went out for dinner, caught the sunset. It was awesome. It was an awesome night.
That's super nice. For Michigan weather, that's like August right now when it's not even officially summer. Yeah.
Right. It's 20 degrees warmer than it should be right now. I was seeing on the news, there's the heat waves and everything. It was so warm yesterday.
Well, that's great because it was 20 degrees cooler than it should have been not long ago. So
that's right. Yeah, it's making up for that. And I will take this over one snowflake any day of the year. Any winter, any semblance of winter, forget it. I don't, I'll take 90 degrees.
That's crazy. I'm the weirdo here then. I actually super enjoy cold weather.
Get out.
I know, right? All right. You're off the podcast. We're done.
Yeah, we're not talking to you anymore. Sorry. No kidding. I had somebody tell me, well, you just need to enjoy a winter sport. Let me just tell you. When you think of Richard, nobody says, I think of sports. Nobody says that. So I just laughed when they said that.
I think snow angels. That's a perfect sport for you.
Oh, okay.
Coming from somebody that used to enjoy winter sports, I don't anymore. And I don't enjoy winter anymore.
That's crazy.
I think it's time. It is time to find a new place.
Maybe that's what happens when we get older. I know I think about it.
I'm kidding.
Can I get out of here? I didn't even hear what you said. What did you say?
I said I'm not older. I don't want to believe in that.
Speak for yourself, Richard. Yeah, I know. But I am getting older because I do think about that. How can I get out of here for at least a month in the winter? I do think about that.
Yes.
Well, good. So you had a busy week. What about you, Bridget?
I actually spent most of my week at a Homeland Security conference. So my other hat that I still wear, contracting with them for grant management. Can't
talk about any of it, right?
Right. I'd have to kill you guys. Totally kidding. No,
that's right.
It is not a highly classified conference. So
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good stuff. Things that I actually would rather not know happen. Like I like my rock that I live under, and some of the things that you learn about just kind of takes that rock innocence away. So
how is a Homeland Security grant conference different from a nonprofit grant conference? Is there a lot more vetting? There's more metal detectors or?
No, actually there is none. And it isn't just grant oriented at all. So the purpose of the conference is really, it's actually focused on law enforcement, EMS, and teachers or school officials, to be honest. And this one's just put on by the state of Michigan. So they kind of bring in speakers to talk about the hot topics. Cybersecurity was huge, a huge topic this year.
Yeah.
And then awesome. They have a whole school track for the administrators and teachers. And I mean, they bring in a lot of good stuff for, how to develop programs in the schools to keep everybody safe.
Real cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, I venture to say the two of you were busier this week than I was busy and I had some client calls and some things, but I also had distractions, which is probably a great subject to talk about someday. How do you manage distractions? So, when you're an employee working an 8 to 5, right? And you have a distraction, you've got to, can I take a personal day, or can I take a long lunch, or come in late, go home early, whatever you have to do to, figure that out. When you're an entrepreneur and your own boss and you're sitting in your own office and, the landscapers are outside with questions, what happens? You get up and you go out there and you get sucked in. So
Yep.
to that rabbit hole, and that's literal. The doorbell rang this morning, and I went to the door, and it was one of the landscape guys, and he said, just want to let you know, there's a dead rabbit in your garden. And he had to deal with it, and he needed some, supplies to deal with that. So, sort of the rabbit hole for real.
You literally went
wait.
down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly.
Meaning, so wait, you're telling me the landscapers came without like gloves or bags?
No,
Or-
well, he did ask for a bag. Apparently, he didn't. He wanted to make sure that I knew that he was putting as they say in New Jersey, a caucus in my garbage.
Gotcha.
And that maybe
There wasn't
I might
even
wanna,
a proper burial. I mean,
No.
I thought supplies like, can I get a shoebox?
actually, to make it even worse for you, and those who love little bunnies, it was a baby bunny.
Oh.
And I saw him more than once. My neighbors have chickens, so sometimes I'm looking out. Here's another rabbit hole. I'm looking out the window because the chickens are out there, doing their thing, and I'm like, what's going on out there? And I went to look, and the little rabbit was out there with them. Oh, look at that little bunny. Then this guy comes to the door and tells me there's a dead bunny in my garden, and I thought, oh man, did the chickens do it? Probably
The
not,
chickens took over.
So yeah, he wanted me to know that, and then he said, maybe you have a smaller bag that we could use. And I said yes. So that it was the rabbit hole that came to the door, and there I was dealing. So it was a week like that, and today, I ran to the chiropractor, and then somebody's birthday party that we're planning. I'd stop and talk about that. Is that work? Not at all. Not at all. But it's one of the luxuries. It's entrepreneurship thing.
It is a luxury of being a business owner, but I want to say I don't think this has been a true rabbit hole, actually, because I think this segues pretty well into kind of what we're talking about today, which is knowing to take the leap.
Oh man.
Into our businesses. And I was just going to say that exact reason is kind of when I knew to go full time. Like Richard, last time we were up, you were talking about how I had like two starts. One was like the part-time thing on the side, and the other one more recently was going full time. And I think so many people have got great ideas, and they're worried about taking that leap. And so the reason I knew it was time was my full-time job was either a distraction for me for the home business, or vice versa. The home business was distracting me from the full-time. And it's like I just had to figure out which one to choose and go for. And I honestly don't think it was as much financial as it was. I'm just not focusing where I should be. Is kind of what got me to make that leap. So
sure. Yep.
Yeah, I jumped headlong into this topic here. Like we didn't even set this up. I just segued in. So it's a crazy, scary thing to jump off and start your own thing. And I'm curious. I know we spoke about it, before, but looking to hear your stories again about when you knew to take that leap. And I can share more down the line, but I just that distraction thing resonated with me. That's all.
Yes.
I would actually agree with you. There is a point where that idea of business ownership and the ideas that keep coming from whatever you're trying to build in your mind of what that's going to look like and what you want to do. And, it is distracting if you have a full-time job. It becomes a major distraction. And at that point, that other job is kind of hindering you. It's holding you back. And it's
Now-
also the distraction of that business idea is also hindering you and holding you back in your real job, right? So I think that's a hard one for a lot of people to know when that leap needs to come.
Right.
I guess if you're having those kind of feelings, if you're sitting there, at your main full-time gig, thinking about what you've been doing on the side, like, oh yeah, I got to do this, I got to remember that. Or if you're like trying to take care of little tasks throughout the day while you're at your full-time thing, like it might be time to start having that conversation of where it's at. I don't know. Is that kind of what happened? I mean, at least, with you, Bridget, is that, I mean, you say it resonates. So do you find yourself sitting there? Or did you find yourself sitting there, just like, oh man, I got to go do the books for that. I got to make sure my part-timers are where they got to be and everything, totally taking you away from the main gig.
100%. Yes. And I love my other hat that I wear. So I kind of have struggled on the full leap into business world. And it actually took a turn for us. So my husband was full-time in corrections, and he was there for over 12 years. So my entire oldest son's life, he kind of spent on that midnight shift, missing holidays, missing whatever, missing family. So it took a turn where I said, I'm going to stay in the full-time role. You take the business. And that's how we got him out of full-time midnights corrections. And he has the business and the employees. And so he's managing that a lot. So,
oh, that's crazy. You and me both now. Our spouses are in business with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of marriage counseling coming up.
we can have 14 segments on marriage counseling.
That would be another terrific topic down the road. One to which I could not contribute because I just have a cat. But then
I'm going to put this out there, Richard. I'm going to ask, if you're listening to episode 2 right now, okay, there's going to be some links down in the description. If you want to hear us talk about what it's like working with our significant others, spouses, etc., just let us know. Find our social, shoot us a message, and let us know you want to know about that.
Or if you're currently doing it, tell us about it. Maybe it'll make us feel better.
Sometime. Yeah, we'll start a support group on Facebook.
Yeah,
there you go.
Right. This is an interesting point that you're making about that, because that was one of the things, as I was struggling with whether or not to take the leap, that I evaluated. For example, I encounter many entrepreneurs who started their own business. Maybe they're a solo entrepreneur who have spouses who are still bringing home some bacon, right? So you take away some, at least, well, I shouldn't make a broad statement. You take away, in some cases, some of the pressure involved in the notion that, how am I going to pay my bills? Well, you have another breadwinner in the house. This is one of the things that I struggled with, and to some extent still do. There is no other breadwinner here. It's me. So you carry that scary part with you. So that was one of the things when trying to figure out if I knew it was time and knew that I was ready to take the leap. Oh man, do I do this? I only have so much in reserves. Do I do this or not? And I went around about that quite a bit. I won't say I still do. I'm thrilled that I did it, but I left a secure job, a secure living to do this. So you do struggle with that quite a bit.
Oh, definitely.
I think a lot of potential business owners or business owners are in that exact spot at some point. That fear of failure. I don't know if you guys had that going in, but that is it's quite the sticking point. I know it took me a little bit to get over that. What if this doesn't work? And I just kind of put the plan together, wrote down some goals, and always had that thing in the back of my mind, like, even if this fails, I can always go find a job.
I did that too.
JOB,
Right.
puke, nobody. Nope.
Yeah.
That is
Well-
me and Jenny had that exact same conversation. It was like, okay, so you want to leave your full-time gig that covers everything, we're good. And we're able to take a trip here and there. We're able to do all these things, save, and you want to cut all that off.
Yeah.
Holy cow, that's scary.
It is.
And some of the things we talked about, it's always financial. Like I said earlier, not financial. It is. It definitely is. But it was, for us, it was more like the potential upside of it. We just saw how many businesses need help. That's what we want to focus on. And we think if we do that well, yeah, we'll do well. So lucky for us, we had enough saved up where it was like, okay, let's give this some run time. Unfortunately, like COVID hit, it's like 5 months, 6 months lockdowns after we started. So that was super scary, but it was a crazy conversation. And it's, the thing is, we don't like to make decisions out of fear. We're always fearful. So it's like, root that into something realistic. Like, what's really the worst thing that could happen?
Exactly.
It's okay. So I spruce up the resume and go find a job, or, like, okay, if that's the worst thing, holy cow, why not?
That's exactly the question. I have one friend in particular who probably went nuts listening to me argue about whether or not to take this leap. And she said the same thing. Richard, what's the worst that could happen? Ask yourself that, write it down, process that. And I landed in the same spot that you did. I'm employable. I have skills. I can go do something if I need to. And so that's where I landed too. But I knew, this is another thing I knew about taking the leap. Once I became convinced the business concept would float, the way people would look at me and their eyebrows would go up when I would talk about it. That's not the problem here. It's just getting the guts to jump.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If anybody ever like talks down, like anybody listening, if anybody's like, are you sure you want to do that? There's always going to be those people like, are you sure you want to leave something stable? Are you sure, like all this stuff and everything like that? They're always going to be there. Yes. And half the time, some of those people are just jealous of you. And maybe that's me just being a bit too arrogant, saying that out loud. But some of them are jealous. They wish they had the guts to go jump and go do something. But the real people, that support you, they're going to be there and they're going to help you. And so focus on those people. If people are coming out and just being super negative about, what you're starting, don't talk to them so much anymore. It's okay.
That's not a bunch of BS.
People out there.
That's
And
not.
No, it's not.
BS.
No,
you're right. Yep.
I would actually argue to the point of surround yourself with some business owners.
Yeah.
It's really easy to find groups of business owners even before you take that leap. Pick their brains. I mean, those are the people that have done it, and that you kind of want to surround yourself with that positivity, because I know when I even thought about it, it was a lot of people said, are you sure?
Yeah.
Comfortable.
But then you have to stop. So maybe it's a journalist in me, and more people should do this. Richard says, might not be anybody else's opinion, but more people should do this. Consider the source of the information that you're getting. And, some of the reason why the media landscape is the way it is now, here goes Richard now, take it easy, pal. Okay. Is we don't consider that.
Yeah.
We want to hear our own opinions, and we don't consider that. But consider where it's coming from. So the people who said that to me, what you just talked about, Bridget, are you sure you want to, would never do this ever.
100%.
Ever. Yep. So that you sort of file that in your filter so that when you hear that, okay, where's that person coming from? Maybe they are jealous. Maybe they would never do that. It's not in their comfort zone. So that. Okay. Yep. I know that.
Yeah.
And then when you surround yourself with the other entrepreneurs, they're going to say, Do it. Yes. Go.
You'd have a cheerleading team. I
Yep.
mean, really, that's what
Right.
it comes down to.
We
And,
talked
and in
about
hindsight, I wish I would have done it sooner. I wish I would have
Yeah.
ignored the voices that were saying, "Are you sure?" And I would have just went for it sooner.
Look,
Yeah.
we're going to have a whole episode about imposter syndrome. We're totally going to talk about that because that is loud in my head like crazy. And well,
Mhm.
I would love to talk about it, but my question right now down that road was, you brought it up, Bridget. So I was just going to ask, where did you go find those people? We all have them. I've got a story to share as well about that. But where did you and Richard, whoever wants to jump in first, where did you find those business owners? How did you go about getting them?
Well,
I
talked
actually found, sorry, Richard.
No, go ahead.
I actually found a group of other like bookkeeping businesses, a Facebook group. So very like-minded people, and I surrounded myself with them.
Yeah. Good.
This group was a private group talking about how they were doing it, their struggles, the good parts, the bad parts. And that alone fueled my fire so much, just because it's like, they're doing it. There's no reason why I can't do it. They're doing it.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. I talked in the last episode about 1 million cups, which is, that's one way to surround yourself with other entrepreneurs. I also have a benefit of another group that was just locally started. And I say I didn't come up with the name, but we call it Hatch. And it's a monthly group of folks who get together and sound off a little bit to each other. There's no expectations. There's no judgment. And actually, what ends up happening is you get a pool of minds together to help you think through a challenge or an issue. And that is so empowering. I felt the same way that you described, Bridget, by talking with your group. So we can find one like that.
Yeah, that sounds like a local mastermind. Definitely great. I had a different experience. When I jumped into starting my business, I actually started multiple at once. So I was part of something, Startup Zoo was an organization that used to exist here in Kalamazoo. That was kind of a nonprofit community group of entrepreneurs. It was mostly college students, but some other professionals, working in the area. There were like 30, 40 of us that would meet quite regularly, and we'd hold things like hackathons and startup competitions, et cetera, where you try and start businesses in a weekend, or figure out, how can we take existing technology and hack something together that's new. And so all these people were like trying to create businesses and do something new and different. And so I had a lot of that community, when I first started and everything. Here we are with our marketing agency, and we can help with ideas and put our skills to use in helping to build other businesses, and not as a client, literally be part of those businesses and everything. And that's where Kalamazoo Local Music came from. Started that with 3 others here locally, and totally crashed and burned, failed. But I mean, through that, I say crashed and burned, like it was fun. It was great. We did it for about 4 years, something like that. There was a key piece in growth and scaling. We just couldn't figure out or do, because maybe we were too distracted by our full-time gigs. And so it failed. So that entrepreneurial community, if you are looking to do many things and scale, look for that. Find those events, hackathons, startup weekends. Maybe there's an accelerator in the area or where you're at, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities and resources there to connect as well. And don't discount networking events, I would say. I know, Bridget, that's where we actually met, was through networking and networking events. And, we're both part of one now that with owners where we're helping each other grow and everything as well. So really, really awesome communities out there. So,
and there's a lot of resources in the Kalamazoo area. I mean,
at least by us here. Yeah, definitely.
Huge amount. And so, and they're national programs though. So, I mean, they're everywhere, and there's a lot of people that don't even know that they exist. So we should probably compile a list and share that.
Check with your local universities, whatever college or university is close to you, because Here in Michigan, we have just about every public university has a small business incubator that will provide you with mentorship and resources and support. And then there's always SCORE too, which is a national group that does the same. And there's just a lot of support that you can get. That power in numbers when you're dealing with folks who are of the experience that you want to be, and as well as those who are going through it at the same time you are.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with getting on LinkedIn either, and just finding somebody that's already doing it. You know, it's already owned a business, maybe been around a while. Just reach out, see if they're willing to sit down and over a cup of coffee. You know, I've definitely done that quite a few times just to figure out if there's something new I could learn. You know, somewhere in there. The other thing was many states have got, you know, their economic developments, you know,
Isn't SBDC,
institutions.
isn't that national?
Yeah,
I
is
think
national.
every state has one. That's a huge program that
the Small
really
Business
helps.
Development Corporation. Yeah, so those branches are all over the place looking into those. So, oh man, we just went down a whole rabbit hole of resources. Holy cow.
Sure
Support
did.
resources.
But that's the whole point. Those things will help you know if you're ready to leap. You don't have to have started the business yet to reach out to some of those folks and bounce ideas and look for support in terms of trying to make your decision. But
well, and
I
a lot
would
will
say,
help
yeah,
put ideas on paper, plans on paper.
That's
They
the
will
next thing
help
I was
you to
going to
begin
say.
to map that out.
Yeah, the old pros and cons list is always good. And that fabulous question, what's the worst that could happen? All of those things help you vet that idea.
Now, P.S. I do want to stress that is the whole reason to do those plans. It's not like the plan itself is good or bad. It's more like going in with eyes wide open.
Yeah.
Because every business plan we've made has never come true. We've either overshot it or we've undershot it, or something different has totally happened. We've had to pivot. Like, business plans are great and they're awesome because they give you a lay of the land, and that's the whole point. It's we're going in eyes wide open. We know what we're trying to accomplish and where the gaps or potential pitfalls are, and you can go in confidently then because you've created that plan around them. That's the key thing is there's that, and then you take that leap and then you go.
And it's ever evolving. If your business plan is not evolving around every corner, then you need to evaluate why it's not, because you're probably stalled in growth once you start. So, I mean, my business plan is nothing like it was when I started. My starting was just enough to get me pushed over the edge to do it.
Now,
I was just going to say that if you're not looking for financing or investors, then maybe you don't have to do a massive business plan and become overwhelmed by that. I didn't. I did a really short and to the point one, and there are templates out there that you can get from some of those resources that we've talked about. But as long as it clears up in your mind what you're trying to do and you know the path you're on, that helps keep you focused. Or do a long one if you want. Write War and Peace if you want to do it that way. Makes you feel
That's a
better.
good point. Mine was super short. It was enough of just a short roadmap.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, same. Maybe 3 pages max for us. Like, it was super short. Maybe might have been less than that. Now that I'm thinking
think mine was less than that. Yeah.
Might have been a bar napkin, but anyway,
wouldn't be the first one that was born that way. Yeah.
No, look, I know we're already like 27 minutes into this, but you know, one of the things that, as I've talked with certain friends or colleagues, acquaintances, they're like, hey, looking to start this. It's like, is it a good time? You know, it has nothing to do with like the finance side. It has nothing to do with, is this a good idea? It's just like, is this a good time? And I think all three of us have a very unique story, somewhat similar, because it all revolves around the pandemic and lockdown. And we all pretty much started like right as lockdown was hitting. And I think the three of us can probably say is that, okay, when there's a catastrophe or something super negative, if you can work through it, you're probably going to come out stronger the other end.
Mhm.
So I hope me saying all that didn't take wind out of anybody's sails or anything, but share your perspective on this. But that was mine, was being part-time, going full-time, hitting lockdown, and all of our clients like just shut down. And we're just like, oh my God, are we going to lose every client because they're not making any money? What's the first thing that cut? They're going to cut employees and any other services they're paying for that they don't need.
Sure.
So, obviously we pivoted, did our thing to help them make revenue during all of that. So we were fairly lucky in that respect for all the clients we kept and whatnot, but we've come out that other end. And so, I think my perspective is there's never a good time. So
that's right.
It's, if you think you're ready, go. And that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to let you two kind of take that one on.
I was going to say that too. If you're waiting for all the planets to align and the stars, I mean, that's fine. You can do that. But I think you're right. There's never a 100% perfect time to do it. What I would say is, in my case, it was like a roundabout, a rotary. You come to that circle and there's all these roads that are branching, and things were coming together all at once. I had a few things happening in my mind. Yes, the pandemic epiphany happened to me. You could do this, came out of that lockdown, and the time that we spent sort of being introspective. But as well, I had some other things going on. The center of it was I was turning 50, and when I turned 49, I said, "Okay, pal, are you going to be fatter or thinner than you were in the pictures when you turn 40?" Number one. Secondly, I'm not. I'm gonna be thinner than I was when I was 40. That was the first thing, and healthier. And the second thing was, I'm not gonna do anything I don't want to do, work-wise. And there isn't a 100% perfect time. But when am I going to do it? When I'm 60? When I'm 70? No. Now is the time. What's that saying? There's no time like the present. So all of that, yeah, right. All of that came together for me after I figured out the idea was valid and what's the worst that could happen and all of those things.
Yeah, I would say there is no great time. You're always going to find an excuse or a reason not to, or another fear to be in your way. And I will say that I noticed, for me personally, the longer that I didn't do it and that I stayed in my distractions or I let other people in my head, it actually stifled my entrepreneurial thinking. And
Agreed.
once I took that leap, the amount of things that were unlocked was amazing. Like, it unlocked that whole business side that I'd been waiting to be unlocked. And I think a lot of people are stuck in that employee thought, and they can't unlock that side enough.
That's interesting.
And taking that leap,
let me
really
just tell you,
unlocked it for me.
Here's something that folks will learn about me. Life is an episode of the Rockford Files. Google it, or an episode, of The Sopranos. And the great philosopher Carmela Soprano, wife of Tony, the boss, right, once said, and I quote, "More is lost in indecision than the wrong decision," unquote. That's what you just said, Bridget.
Boom.
You're quoting Carmela. There you are.
Not knowledge bomb. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a whole other branch here around, and we'll talk about it probably later, is the idea of, am I owning a business or am I owning a job?
Yeah.
And I'd say something in there resonated with me, because I that's something I this balancing act of working as an owner versus working as, a marketing associate, as the employee of the business. And that definitely stifles creativity too, but that's a conversation for another time. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now.
There's a lot of rabbits and holes today.
Oh
Yeah.
man, a lot of rabbits and holes. You know what? It's all because before we started, Richard shared that story
Yep.
about the landscaper, or no, that was at the beginning of the episode. Landscaper and the rabbit. That's why this is all still rabbit holes. Done. It's all because of that.
That little Peter
Way to
Rabbit
do-
hopping around out there set the whole tone for us.
Well,
Thought
I'm just
inception.
happy that when I took the leap into my business, I didn't end up like that Peter Rabbit. So,
Exactly. You didn't get picked
You
up by
mean-
a hawk
no.
or attacked by a cat or something. I don't know what went on.
Put
out
into
there.
a shoebox.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man,
All
this
right.
got
we've unlocked a lot of things we should talk about in future
lots,
episodes.
Lots.
Yeah.
Lots.
And we hope you'll
Yeah.
be with us for
So if-
all of those as we move forward with What the Biz. Thanks for being with us, and check the show notes for links to the various resources that we talked about in this particular episode. SCORE and small business development and all of those things. Some of those resources that we discussed will be there. Until the next time, friends, see you soon.